Our infrastructure is under attack. It's been happening again and again, and here we are with another example of how fragile our entire situation is when it comes to energy dependence. So stick around for the rest of the video. We're going to talk about what happened in Colorado and what we can learn from it in the sense of preparation. Hey everybody, it's Magic Prepper, and today we're talking about the gas line attack that happened in Aspen, Colorado, and how it left thousands of residents there without heat during one of the colder nights of the year. And unfortunately, a lot of those people were not prepared to just suddenly have their gas turned off. And there's a lot to learn in this little situation that happened out there in Colorado, but one thing is definitely for sure. This shows us that these infrastructure style attacks are going to continue, and they're easy to pull off, and our infrastructure is not well secured, and it's very, very fragile. As we just recently talked about in the last video, as we talked about recently when it came to cyber attacks, these things just seem to be escalating and happening more and more people out there who are bad actors and want things to happen in a certain way are finding out how easy it is to actually accomplish these missions of theirs. And that's a problem. And if you're prepared for things like your electricity or your gas or anything else energy related to suddenly go away, and you're ready for that to happen and you don't need it to survive, hit the subscribe button below, because you need to be part of this community to help share some of your information and some of your knowledge about how you're going to get through those situations so that other people here can learn and other people here can be better prepared for when those things occur. Okay, so like I said, we just came off of some cyber attacks that did target the Department of Energy. We just came off of a situation that affected wireless communications through a widespread area. And now we're talking about a situation where what it seems like anyway, low-level acts of vandalism affected a large population in Aspen, Colorado, and shut off their ability to heat their homes. Okay, so thousands of residents were without gas. I believe it was around 3,500 suddenly the other day. Okay, what happened is that these vandals went into these three different areas of the Black Hills Energy gas system and tampered with the flow lines and basically cut the gas flow off to this area. Okay, so what do we learn from that? Well, first off, these vandals didn't leave any evidence besides footprints for the most part. That's what we can tell so far. Footprints. Oh, and they did write Earth First on a pipe in one of the locations. Excellent, okay. Anyway, that being said, there was no surveillance video at all. There's no security footage. There was no cameras. These facilities are completely unsecure, are completely unguarded, and there's never even been a thought from somebody in that department thinking, oh, what if someone came up here and just shut off the gas? No one would ever just do that. Well, clearly that's how they think, because there was zero security at all. These people literally walked in, tampered with the flow lines, and left. No consequences. And there was no footage or anything to show what happened after. Okay? So, suddenly, the police are scrambling when it's about to get below zero to give 6,000 space heaters out to residents. 6,000. Can you imagine living in a place that gets below 0 degrees and relying on law enforcement to deliver a space heater to you because the gas you rely on and could never assume would ever just turn off doesn't exist suddenly, and you have no other way to heat your home or heat your loved ones and make sure everybody stays warm? That is something we really have to consider and think about in this situation. 6,000 people didn't have a way to heat themselves, didn't have a way to stay warm when they live in an environment like Aspen, Colorado. That is how unprepared the majority of the people in this country are. You are one of the lucky ones who actually woke up to the idea of being self-sufficient and being self-reliant and preparing for things to happen because you know you can't count on emergency services. I'm sure it took a long time to distribute 6,000 space heaters. And the fact that all those people who needed those space heaters had no other form of keeping themselves warm when they live in that environment is why we know a lot of people are living out there completely unprepared. It's very sad and it's unfortunate, because you have to understand that those are the majority of the people you're going to be dealing with in any kind of an SHTF scenario if one ever arises. That is something we have to learn and consider from the situation. Now, businesses were shut down as well. And businesses, including restaurants and hotels that highly rely on gas, right? Because they either need it for cooking or they need it for heating their building. And you can't rent out a hotel room if it's 0 degrees inside because that is inhumane. Well, suddenly lots of businesses were affected, had to shut down, a lot of financial loss occurred. This is a common trend with these infrastructure attacks. They don't just shut off the gas. They don't just shut off heat to these homes. They shut down the economy in certain areas. They affect the financial structure of an area and hurt it, which is not going to be something easily regained in the following weeks because an entire day of business was lost. And in a lot of industries, especially the service industry, one day of business is probably your profit margin for that entire 10-day span. So you have to think about that. It's going to take them another 10 extra days to make up that one day's loss. That is huge, okay? So infrastructure attacks, they're happening. And people are aware of how easy they are to pull off now. These people literally walked in, no surveillance footage, tampered with the flow lines, whatever that means, right? Probably just turned off a valve, and boom, no one had gas. At least 3,500 people didn't have gas. And 6,000 space heaters needed to be distributed because that's how many people were completely unprepared to not have that gas. Takeaways from these infrastructure attacks should teach you that A, you should not rely on your energy. Don't rely on the electricity that comes into your home. Don't rely on the gas that flows into your home. Don't rely on anyone but yourself when it comes to powering what it is you need to stay warm. Make sure you have alternative forms of energy in the sense of heat, especially if you live in a cold environment. Do you have a wood-burning stove? Do you have space heaters at the minimum, right? Do you have a way to stay warm, okay? And at the same time, understand that even when emergency services come together to make it happen, it's not going to happen within the first hour. They can't deliver 6,000 space heaters within an hour's time span. So you got to be prepared to not even receive those services after a certain point, okay? Infrastructure is fragile. People are figuring that out, and it's going to keep happening more and more frequently, unfortunately, because everyone's seeing what's happening and realizing how fragile and how easy it is to affect. And can you imagine these foreign bad actors out there that are watching our news and saying, well, that was easy. Why didn't we think of that? These are things we have to consider. So that being said, leave comments below if you have anything else to add about this gas attack that happened in Aspen, Colorado. When I say gas attack, it sounds way worse than it is. I mean the attack on the gas line system, the attack on the ability to deliver gas to the homes of residents there in Aspen, Colorado. And if you're worried about how you're going to be self-sufficient in any kind of an energy situation, please comment below because there's a lot of people here in this community that will help you. They'll let you understand how they decided to be energy sufficient on their own without having to rely on these large major energy companies that eventually, I guess, can easily just be turned off by random vandals. Okay? So, without anything else to say about what happened in Aspen, Colorado and what it means in the sense of trying to be better prepared, that's going to be it for Magic Prepper.